Hi, I'm Jess. Welcome to the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by McGregor's Grill and Tap Room, now with 6 locations, including the newest at East and Alexander, featuring in-house catering for parties. McGregor's, a beer lover's paradise.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from McGregor's in their downtown location. I'm Bill Pucko. Our panelists this morning are, first of all, Kim Berntson from WHTK.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad I could tag in.
All right, Alex Zapesochny from the Democrat Chronicle, former member of the Democratic Chronicle editorial board, entrepreneur and private business owner, small business owner. Alex, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
And of course, Walk of Famer and former Democratic Chronicle columnist and now working at WHAM as he has for the past 20 plus years, Bob Matthews. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Great to be here.
All righty, it is a big week, of course. The National Football League season is beginning. The Buffalo Bills have one preseason game left. They play that on Thursday. Bob, I'll give it to you first. What have you thought of the Buffalo Bills preseason so far, and what have they got left to accomplish?
I think they've been horrible. There's only 3 0-3 teams in the preseason, and they're all in the AFC. The combined record of the AFC East, by the way, is 1-11 now. And the only team that's won a game is New England, which is appropriate. They're the best team by far. I think the Buffalo Bills will look putrid, and particularly their passing game. And I'm totally frustrated. This is a passing league now, the NFL, and it's like the Buffalo Bills are oblivious to that and have been for 20 years. That's why they haven't made the playoffs in 12 years. They have not addressed a franchise quarterback, and that's still the case. So I don't know what they're going to do on Thursday night. They say that maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick will play 1 or 2 series. I don't know why he doesn't play the whole first half.
The thing is, I think it's probably, Kim, not a good sign if he's playing in that exhibition game at all, is it?
No, it's definitely not a good sign that the Bills have been so desperate to get a second-string quarterback too. That's definitely shows that they're a little worried.
But when you get into a plan, you have a plan when you start a preseason and you know some things you want to try to do. 3 weeks into it, you're changing the quarterback like that. That's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, and it's actually strange that they're going to give most of the snaps to Thigpen, though, during the game. Theoretically, they're thinking, I suppose, of trying to still hold on to 4 quarterbacks. But it seems unlikely that they would do that. If you talk about statistics, yes, the Bills haven't been to the playoffs in 12 years, but it's actually been 10 years since they went last time that they went 0-4 in the preseason. So this is a particularly negative time point for them. They had the second lowest offensive scoring of anyone in the NFL. You have Ryan Fitzpatrick having a less than 50% completion average. This is a pretty disastrous preseason.
Yeah, really. I mean, all the focus is on how good this team is going to be defensively. I think it's been kind of an awakening or maybe a realization that the rest of the team isn't all that well constructed.
Well, they brag about having one of the best 1-2 running punches in the league, which they do. But again, it's a passing league, and the Bills don't seem to be really cognizant of that or care that much. They got the most anonymous group of wide receivers and tight ends in the league. They have a quarterback who I rank like 22nd or 23rd, and people in Rochester don't like to hear that, but every time I ask on the air, can somebody please suggest to me where you would rank Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because they call up, they say, top 12, maybe around number 12. I said, are you serious? That's the trouble with this franchise. Again, they have to address the quarterback situation.
When they were 5-2 last season, though, and I think that's what everyone who's a Bills fan is kind of hanging on, he was good. I mean, he was good. Is there any reason to think that he isn't that guy?
He's not that guy because all the teams have him figured out now. They know who he's going to go to. I think that he's got to switch his game up, or they're not gonna have a passing game. They got to figure something out quick.
Optimism nationally on the Buffalo Bills side. Just around the table here. What do you see from him now? I know you had 10-6 originally.
I had 9-7 originally. Now I'm 8-8 because again I'm just totally frustrated by this lack of a passing attack. I think the defense will be fine, Bill, but how they plan on moving the football? Yes, they got two very good running backs, but the other team's aware of that. And why they gave Ryan Fitzpatrick that
5-year extension, whatever it was, for a 6-year extension for $59 million. They weren't bidding against anyone. Who were they trying to, beat to the punch? They didn't have to do that. And now they're kind of stuck with him. They got a general manager and a coach who probably this is their last hurrah, and they've just attached themselves to Ryan Fitzpatrick for good or bad, and I think it's going to be bad.
Alex, how do you see him?
The fan in me sees it as 10-6 because I do think they do have an improved defense. However, I think the realist in me is seeing it as an 8-8 season, and that they're not going to get to the playoffs, unfortunately, for a 13th unlucky year.
All right, Kim?
I think Bills fans are going to be sadly disappointed if they think that the Bills aren't showing them everything in the preseason. I think they've showed us what they're going to do, and maybe the defense will look a little better. Maybe they'll, Marcel Darius will, maybe eat Sanchez for lunch. We don't know. We'll see. But I think I agree with Bob when he says they're going to go about 8-8.
Vegas generally knows, and they've got the line. I think the betting line is 7.5, the over-under on the Buffalo Bills. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. The new New York Yankees reside in the National League. Is that a good or a bad thing? We'll talk about it.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box was brought to you by Lattimore Physical Therapy and Sports Rehabilitation, with locations in Hilton, North Greece, Webster, Irondequoit, Pittsford-Mendon, and Rush Henrietta.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko. The Los Angeles Dodgers this week invested about $250 million in salary, picking up Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, and Josh Beckett from the Boston Red Sox. Alex, are these guys the new New York Yankees in the National League, and is this a good or a bad thing?
Well, they certainly are in some way. They're trying to run a different kind of experiment, which oftentimes happens when you have new management stepping in. A number of years ago, the whole Moneyball and Theo Epstein sort of theory became kind of big. What can we do for the least amount of money, or what can we do generally? Now they're going toward a whole different experiment. What if we just don't care about budget? What if we don't care about the luxury tax? What can we do? The thing is, history has shown, though, that oftentimes it's not the ones who spend the most money, and in fact, baseball more so than other sports. There are all sorts of other dynamics at play in order to be able to win a championship. I think it'll be very interesting to see, but I think there's a pretty good chance that a few years down the road, there's going to be a lot of regret in Los Angeles that they have saddled themselves with a lot of folks where one could argue, at least with some of them, are past their prime.
LA's in a pretty unique position here, though. I mean, they're bankrupt a year ago, and you got to do things differently in California, don't you?
Well, they're getting a new television deal. That's why they can afford to do all this. And I think they're going to be, like you said, they're the Yankees of the National League, and I think they're going to do very well. I think they're going to have an all-star at practically every position. I don't think they're in a very good division. I think they could dominate the National League West for quite a while. And they're going to make mistakes, but they can afford to eat their mistakes. And they won't make a mistake as bad as the Yankees did on Alex Rodriguez, which I think is the worst contract in the history of baseball.
Kim, what do you, the small teams, what do they do when they see this happen? Again, we always use the Pirates. If the Pirates in the National League can see the Dodgers loading up like this, how do you feel about yourself?
It kind of definitely doesn't give you much hope, but I think anything like this is great for a sport. I think any kind of drama draws attention to the sport, whether it's bad or good. Just like in the NBA with the Heat, it gave people like a team to hate, and maybe the Dodgers are going to become this new hated team in baseball, but I think it's great for the sport of baseball.
Will they be the Yankees? I mean, is there another dynamic that we're kind of missing here that is not just about spending money, but the fact that the Yankees are what they are there partially because of guys like me who hate everything that they do,
Well, they can't be the Yankees exactly because they're going to play their games at 11 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And so the people aren't going to be able to watch them like they watch the Yankees all over America. So I don't think nationally they'll ever have the impact that the Yankees have had, and they don't have the history of the Yankees. But I think they're going to be very, very good. They mean business. I think the guys that they signed, with the exception of Beckett, I think he's shot. I don't know why they got him. But they got the makings they got a good farm system, and I just think they're going to be the team to beat from now on for an unlimited number of years.
When Bob says history, I'm wondering how much is relevant. Like when the Yankees go all the way back and stuff, but how much history becomes relevant when you're dealing with something like the Dodgers all of a sudden?
I think it's relevant. Obviously, the Dodgers have their own storied history, but the problem with a move like this is now they've set up these immense expectations for themselves. And now when Beckett or Crawford or whoever doesn't do particularly well, this is going to be magnified, and you're going to have a lot of pressure. And I don't think we know whether or not the rest of the team and the management, et cetera, is going to be in a position to be able to handle the pressure, because I think there will definitely be a lot more scrutiny. I have to believe that, like the Yankees, or possibly right after the Yankees, every single newscast is going to be led with how did the Dodgers do, and that they're going to be under the microscope. I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant to say that they're going to have a great year.
Yeah, Alex says that they'll have regret down the road. Just quickly, you guys see it the same way? Is this going to work? Are they going to be 5 years from now? Are they going to be happy they did this?
It's definitely possible that they set themselves up for failure. It was a big risk, but hopefully it pays off.
I think they're going to be good immediately. Maybe not this year, but starting next year with the spring training under their belts. And I think they're going to be the team to beat, at least in their division, for the foreseeable future. And I think they're in competition with the Lakers, for the top team in Los Angeles. And I think they're going to try to pay their way to that prestigious spot, and I think they're going to do it.
I don't worry about the Red Sox. They have all this money to spend and really nobody to spend it on. When we return, we'll field some questions from the audience here at McGregor's. This is the Rochester Press Box.
The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by McGregor's Grill and Tap Room, now with 6 locations, including the newest at East and Alexander, featuring in-house catering for parties. McGregor's, a beer lover's paradise.
We are back at McGregor's with the Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, joined this week by Kim Berntson, WHTK Radio, by Alex Zapesochny, who is the former member of the Democrat and Chronicle editorial board, private business owner in town, and Bob Matthews, Walk of Famer, WHAM Radio. We're going to take it to the audience here at McGregor's and see if we have a couple questions.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I want to know what you think the impact might be on using replacement officials in the NFL on player safety.
Kim?
I think it's dangerous. I think it's gonna, cause players to get hurt more often. Players are almost going to adjust their games to the things that they know that they can get away with these new officials. That's my opinion on how that's going to affect the game.
These are always more complex. I especially like, because you're a business owner, everyone talks about, we got to settle with the refs, we've got to get them in and stuff. It's not as simple as management just caving in and saying, all right, we'll give these guys whatever they want, get it settled this week. These can be difficult matters to solve, can't they?
Well, they are difficult, and it's especially difficult if you don't have another group of referees, which are professionals, waiting there in the wings to step in. It really does provide a lot of incentive for the continuation of these discussions. So, yeah, management's in a tough position.
But you're a boss, you manage people. When it's this important and it's this visible, how difficult is it to draw that line and say, this is what we have to do?
It's probably difficult, but this isn't the same as a player strike, where I think you're going to have outrage from the fans. I think odds are it'll be a relatively negligible effect, pretty much no matter what the reffing is like, unless there really are a lot of mistakes. So I think it's really left to be determined what the effects are.
Bob, you watch these games. How bad have they been refereed?
They've been pretty bad, but I think it's outrageous that the owners charge full price for fake football in the preseason, and yet they can't afford, they say, legitimate referees for legitimate games. I think it's pathetic.
Another question?
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm wondering what you think of the developing storylines thanks to adding a second wild card in the MLB, and what your biggest surprise team would be to either make or miss the playoffs this year.
Bob?
Well, I think the second wild card was a tremendous idea. I think I'm not too sold on the one game, do or die. I think that's kind of stupid. But the extra wild card is, I figured something out today, like 14 of the games on Wednesday night are meaningful in terms of at least the wild card. That wouldn't have been the case in the past. And a team that I think is a surprise team and could be very good, assuming they get into the playoffs, is the Angels, who have been the biggest disappointment all season. I think if they make the playoffs, they'll be very dangerous. I think the team that's a total fraud is the Baltimore Orioles. I don't know how they're doing it. They're 24-6 in one-run games. If you're supposed to break even in one-run games. And they're the most successful team in close games in modern baseball history, which started in 1900. But I just think they're a fraud. You look at that lineup, it looks like a AAA lineup pretty much. And So I think Baltimore, if they make the playoffs, is a fraud. The Angels are the team to fear.
Alex, you like the extra playoff team?
I do. I generally like to have a larger playoff format, so it gets a lot more people excited, and that's what you want. It's tough when 3 quarters into the season you know your team doesn't have much of a chance, and now you have more fans with the capability of enjoying the season.
Yeah. Who do you think of most benefits? There's a team out there that is like really taking advantage of this opportunity.
I'd say the Pirates, definitely. I'd love to see them. I'm a secret Pirates fan, so I'd love to see them, have a shot. But I definitely think it's a good thing that it incorporates. The more, the merrier for me.
Alrighty, unfinished business when we return here to McGregor's in the Rochester Press Box.
Hi, I'm Alexa. You're watching the Rochester Press Box from McGregor's.
We're back at the Rochester Press Box here from McGregor's. I'm Bill Pucko. Unfinished business. Kim, what do you got for us?
Back to the Bills. I'm really curious to see, and I don't think we're going to see it against Detroit, but I can't wait to see what they do with the Spiller-Jackson combination. They haven't shown us much of it yet, so excited for that. Hope they do well, and we'll see what they have in store for us this season.
Alex?
Well, for me, the unfinished thought is somewhat related to our baseball question about what is competition about, what is fairness about, what does sports mean to individuals. And this week I was thinking a lot about Lance Armstrong and about performance-enhancing drugs, obviously also in the baseball setting as well. It's a very mixed, bitter feeling to some extent, because obviously you still have to have a lot of respect for the hundreds of millions of dollars that he's been able to raise over the last 13 years, that he, like Magic Johnson to some degree did with AIDS, was able to show people that there is a life and a vigorous one after cancer. He clearly has been an inspiration. But it's tough also not to look at him, think about the other baseball players recently, Melky Cabrera and others that have been accused in these situations, and not think that there's something wrong with sports, and that we're just not doing enough, and that this isn't the sports isn't what it was for many of us many years ago as teenagers, when we looked at people like Roger Clemens and others and thought, I want to be like these people. So it's a sad week, I think, for sports.
All right, Alex. Robert?
Well, I also wanted to mention Lance Armstrong. I'm glad he's kind of going to go away for a while. I was really tired of him being a one-man crusade, insisting that he was clean, when I think 99% of us knew that he was dirty, just like everybody else in the sport. I think cycling is the dirtiest sport in the history of mankind, and I'm glad finally that he is no longer going to be able to stand there and say, you notice how he never said definitively, I never cheated. What he said was, I've been tested more than anybody in history, and I never tested positive. That's because he was smarter than everybody else, in my opinion. I don't think it matters at all that he's been exposed. I think everybody knew it, or most people knew it, and I think people are going to continue to support his charity fighting cancer just like they did before.
See, I'd like to get back into the baseball issue and just ask my friends in Boston to calm down a little bit. This trade and all the implications of the trade of these guys to Los Angeles, supposedly these are bad guys. Well, Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford was apparently a hard worker. These weren't bad guys. And poison clubhouses, I think, maybe a little overrated, and maybe a team just looking for an excuse for the way things kind of fell.
I don't think Josh Beckett was overrated. I think they made a horrible mistake bringing him back this year after last September.
But just in terms of this whole poison attitude, I think you color these guys, you paint these guys in a corner, and I don't know that it's entirely fair. I think that's my only thing.
But they've had a very bad year, and I think just like in Los Angeles, there's a new group in town. They're trying to put the Theo Epstein legacy behind them and trying to do something new.
That they did.
And they certainly did.
Alrighty. Thanks, guys. Robert, Kim, Alex, we appreciate it. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Lattimore Physical Therapy, Sticky Lips Barbecue, and of course McGregor's here, where we shoot this program every Wednesday afternoon at 12:30, and we certainly invite you to come down here and take part. I'm Bill Pucko. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.